Kingdom
Live.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni.
Yeah, when it's grim, be the Grim Reaper and go get it.
It's my home's house, and it is good. Woo! Arrowhead man.
The Lombardi Trophy is a red and gold reflection.
You gotta fight for your right to party.
Howdy, Chiefs Kingdom. It's Wednesday.
Cheers.
It's 8 o'clock. That means it's time for Chiefs Kingdom Live. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. While you're here, don't forget, click like, click subscribe, tell a friend, tell a family member, tell another Chiefs fan, tell them to tell more Chiefs fans. We'd sure appreciate y'all helping spread the word. Got a good show tonight. We're inching closer and closer to the start of the preseason and then ultimately, obviously, the regular season. Training camp is underway, fellas. Got some news from training camp, some contract talks for Chris Jones. Maybe that's getting a little more dicey. We'll talk about that. Some quarterbacks with some new contracts. Some displeasure with Patrick Mahomes' contract from someone who doesn't really matter whether they're displeased with it or not. But new highest paid quarterback, which we'll get to that all here. And anything you all want to talk about, make sure you shoot us a comment or a question here. You can find us on all of our other social medias at Chiefs Kingdom Live, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Fellas, before we get into it, how y'all doing tonight? Bo?
Doing good, man. Doing real good. This is a perfect Kentucky summer day. Didn't get to about 90 degrees. Went to a couple distillery tours. So if my speech sounds a little slurred, it might be the bourbon, but been keeping it together though. No, it's been a great day though. Nick, how you doing, man? Good to see you guys.
Hey man, I'm great. Every time I see another, middle tier quarterback start making $50+ million a year in our division, I'm feeling pretty good. So
Right. Right. Yeah, especially when said quarterbacks never won a playoff game already on the rookie contract. But that's all right. We'll get to that a little bit later. We'll just get into the big news right now is still Chris Jones. I don't think anybody, maybe someone in the chat, expected this to drag out this long. I certainly did not.
Nope.
No. There's been, Nick, did you expect this to be a story at this point?
No, I figured that they'd have it signed, sealed, delivered by training camp, to be honest. So, but it hasn't. So it's his contract is day to day. So,
right, contracts day to day. The didn't seem like Chiefs Kingdom was at all worried about Chris Jones and getting a new contract and extension. It was almost just like a foregone conclusion to most Chiefs fans. Myself included. Then we get to training camp and he doesn't show up for the first day. And then I want to say it was Adam Schefter puts out a tweet that says Chris Jones and the Chiefs are not close on a contract.
Far apart, right? That was
far
the wording.
Apart. Yeah, that was the wording. Far apart. That ticked my worry meter up a few notches. I'm not going to lie when I read that. Then Chris Jones puts out kind of a weird, wakey tweet the next day. Chiefs Twitter.
It's called an X now, Scott. It's no longer called a tweet. He put out an X.
It's always called.
I think it's called Xting.
Xting?
Put out.
I thought that's what you did, at 2 a.m. when you had too much to drink. But
yeah,
that's what Ben Roethlisberger did, right?
Right.
X did a lot.
Yeah, he X'd it a lot. So I don't know. Let's just get into this real quick. I'd like to see what your guys' thoughts are. Maybe see what the chat thinks. Nick, do you think the Chiefs and Chris Jones are far apart on a contract, on a number, or do you think that's posturing by his agent, feeding Adam Schefter something? What are you thinking about the Chiefs and where they're at with Chris Jones on a contract extension?
Man, I don't fucking know anything is what I'm realizing the further the situation goes. We keep talking about it every week. And every week we're like, dude, here's what we think is going to happen. And then, nope.
Couldn't be close.
Doesn't happen.
Couldn't be further.
He was mad. That's why he didn't go to the ring ceremony. Then he said he was sick and it was going to happen by training camp. And he's definitely going to go to training camp. And it's like now he's not at training camp and they're far apart. And now there's reports that he wants to get paid upwards of $30 million a year. So, I mean, the one thought that I've had in all of this is there is like a lot of talk out there of like, don't pay him, trade him. And no matter how much you love like what you do and everything, like, do you think how do you think that makes you feel as a player when you see that? Do you think that has like any tinge of like, these people don't really care about me? Maybe I should go. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it there, but like, you think, maybe it's not even true, but then you see like, oh, this greedy dude, he's trying to get all this money. I mean, I don't know. So my real thought is that I have no clue. I don't know anybody's close to the situation. Everybody's texted and tweeted and X'd and whatever. They obviously don't know either. So
if you had to guess, what would you say? They're far apart, or that's just kind of like out there? That's not really the case.
Yeah, I don't think that they're obviously not close enough to get a deal done, or it would have happened, right? So, they want to get it done. They want to get it out of the way. They don't want it to be a distraction in training camp and preseason and going into the year. We've seen this before, right? Like with Justin Houston, Eric Berry, where you get these guys and you kind of let them go to the point to where they have all the leverage in the situation. They have a baller season. He's saying he's going to be the defensive player of the year this year, right? So what do you, if they're far apart now, how far apart are they going to be if he's defensive player of the year? Because his predictions, spoiler alert, they seem to come true. Whatever he puts out there. So, so I mean, I think that they're probably struggling to get through it, right? I don't know. There's nothing else to be waiting for at this point, right?
No. Bo, you think they're far apart?
Dude, I echo Nick's sentiments exactly. I mean, you could have asked me this 2 weeks ago and I've been like, no, I think I did say it's just more a question on like longevity, on how long he has and how long he thinks he has versus how long the Chiefs think he has. I still think that, but half of me now is just worried, man. Like I wasn't worried about this at all. Hearing half of me still thinks it's speculation, though. The media has nothing to talk about. Chris Jones is a big time name now, and the fact that he isn't signed, like, why not drum up some stories and why not talk about it? And far apart, I mean, we're talking a couple $1 million. I mean, that's a lot of money, but in the NFL terms, it's not that much. 30 million is a lot of money, but dude, I don't know. I'm not an account for the NFL. I mean, it sounds like we just throw out these numbers as fans and spectators going like, oh yeah, well, this was too much. But in that world, I don't know if that's far apart. If it's just a couple million, that's what I've heard. But I think he like Nick said, he has all the leverage to command that kind of money. I mean, I think what I've heard is that he's just asking to be the second highest paid player in the league under Aaron Donald. And I don't know about the 30 million. I mean, again, I don't know about specific numbers. I've just heard that rumor. And I'm kind of the opinion to give it to him, man. I would hate to see him go, because without it, like, what is our defense really? I mean, we have great guys on defense. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to like discredit any of the guys on our team whatsoever. But when Chris Jones is on the field, he has 2 or 3 guys on the line worried about him, right? It frees up everybody else. So, I mean, he's just such a game changer being on the field, let alone like his performance, that it's just like, oh man, you're going to take 2 steps forward with our defense, 5 steps back with this one if you were to let him go. So I don't know if they're in the position to do that. It doesn't sound like any of the coaches or anybody that like talks to the media, like they don't sound like there's any disdain there. So I don't know what far apart really is. I think that's just kind of like a trigger word, that a buzzword that's going around in the media right now. This is just me just like crossing my fingers, but I'm hoping they get it done. I heard last week it was supposed to be Friday. We'll see. I'd said that last week too, I feel like. So who knows?
Yeah.
Friday
came and went. That was kind of the rumor mill that they were going to get it done on Friday, with training camp coming up the following week.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on what your definition of far apart is. Like if he wants 26 million a year, or I'm sorry, like if he wants 30 and the Chiefs are willing to give him 26 or 26 and a half a year, is $4 million far apart? I don't know.
16 million, right?
Again.
Total. Yeah, but I'm just talking about per year, like per year, because the reports where he was wanting $30 million per year. So I don't know how many years that would be for. This is his second extension, so he's already gotten one contract extension, got a pretty good payday, but he's gotten better and better every year. Bo, you talked about what is our defense without Chris Jones. I saw a lot of people, Nick, you mentioned people are saying, well, if he wants $30 million a year, like that's too much money, just trade him. Well, we traded Tyreek Hill and won the Super Bowl, right? But I just feel like making that analogy to those situations isn't really all that smart, because look, you got Patrick Mahomes on the offense to dish it around to other receivers. You've got Travis Kelce in there, who's kind of the de facto wide receiver one. Who on the defense is going to make up for Chris Jones and make the other guys better to make up for his lack of production? He's the Patrick Mahomes of the defense, which we have said multiple times on this show in the past.
Exactly.
Man, I think the guy's worth $30 million a year. If that guy, that Quinnen Williams from the Jets, just got what, $25 or $26 million a year, Aaron Donald's getting 31 or a little over 31 million a year. Chris Jones is worth $30 million a year. Can the Chiefs afford that? I don't know. Nick, do you pay Chris Jones $30 million a year?
Well, it's not what he's worth, right? It's whatever he can get. We've said that before. It's like whatever you can get is what you're worth. Personally, I don't think any defender in the NFL is worth $30 million a year based on the way the NFL is geared. It's geared towards offense, right? And the way that the salary cap is, it's just this is the way you got to look at it is, okay, so if we can sign Chris Jones, but we can't keep L'Jarius Sneed and Nick Bolton, right? Is he worth both of those guys? Maybe, but I just don't, man. I don't think any defender is. You look at the Rams and they paid Aaron Donald all that money. Like, what'd they do last year, right? They've kind of set the bar with some ridiculous contracts, and like as great and as generational a talent as Aaron Donald is, like if the offense isn't doing it, they're not going to win games, right? So
yeah.
Like, and it's meant as no disrespect, right? Like, we don't go to the Super Bowl without Chris Jones, right? That's a fact. Last year, he made the sack that ended the Bengals drive that allowed us to go down. Patrick then sealed the deal, drew a penalty. We walk out of there with a W. But if he doesn't get that sack there, I was sitting there thinking Joe Burrow was going to go down the field and do what, like, have a repeat of the year before. And Chris Jones stepped up, right? He got the sack on 3rd and 8 or whatever it was. So, like, he's worth a lot of money, but I think that some of these contracts are getting to the point where you got to look at it and you got to go, like, it's not worth like saddling your franchise with it. Like I said before, we did it with Justin Houston, where we're like, shit, we got to pay him, and then like you give him all this money, and what if he has injuries and stuff, and I don't agree necessarily with the cold-hearted aspect of it either. On the other side, where people are saying, why don't we just hit plays out this year? We franchise tag him for 2 more years, and then he's like 30, 31 years old, and we just let him go see whatever he can get. I don't think you should do that either to the guy, because he's
right.
So it's a tough situation, but I don't think so. I wouldn't pay any defender $30 million a year. So.
Is any team willing to pay that much? Am I just ignorant? I don't think any team is willing to pay that much money for.
Well, Nick brought up the Rams paying Aaron Donald. They won the Super Bowl
and
with
lesson
Aaron Donald
learned
2 years ago, Nick. So I don't know that
we're not trying to win one Super Bowl though.
Matt Stafford's arm fell apart, and they were playing freaking Baker Mayfield towards the end of the year, right? Yeah. So, look, I don't know that I'm going to fault the Aaron Donald contract for the Rams not being good last year. They won the Super Bowl with the guy the year before. So,
but they went all in. They went all in and they won one. Do you think that the Rams are going to win another one with this crew?
I don't know. It just depends on what they do with the quarterback position, right? That's ultimately the biggest key to any team is, do you have the quarterback? I don't know what happens with Matt Stafford. If he returns, there was some people that were lip reading him on the sidelines last year saying, my arm's dead. I can't throw a football. So Who knows what goes on there? But I don't know that say that like a guy like Chris Jones, a defensive player of the year candidate, $30 million a year. I mean, it's a lot of money to pay a guy, but look, I mean, where did they draft Nick Bolton and L'Jarius Sneed? Those guys were late round draft picks. So I don't know, Bo, are you going to give Chris Jones $30 million a year?
Again, just playing fun here because I don't know the accounting really, right? Like I don't know what we could afford and whatnot, but I mean, it seems if you look at the league averages and then the top contracts seems a little extreme. Man, it's just fascinating to like think about being in that position and just arguing over $4 million when you're making 28, 30 million a year anyway. It's just fascinating to kind of discuss. But I mean, it would just depend on what you can afford, man. It wouldn't shock me. I was just thinking about this while we were talking. If they didn't and they kind of let him go, as much as I want him to stay, we've seen it before. I mean, Tyreek Hill, right? Like it was just a couple $1 million. Like I feel like the same disparity here that we're kind of seeing in this contract, and they ultimately said to Tyreek Hill, and they're kind of banking on this go young mentality, and it's paid off for him so far. But I don't know if you could do that with this position, especially like we, like you said perfectly, we kind of view him as the Mahomes of the defense. Big Doug brings up a great point, dude. Like how many sacks has Jones had in the postseason? Just one critical sack, and he brings up the point that the year before we lost to Cincinnati, right, he didn't have any. I don't know if like you can count sacks for him really. Like I said, it's more of just like how does he affect the game? He takes two of their guys away and just focus on him and opens up other guys for that.
He had two batted passes, right, in the Super Bowl that were pretty big.
Yeah. I mean, he's a batted pass machine, right?
Yeah.
Pressures, there's lots to go into it. He draws double teams, which allows other guys like Frank Clark, or I know Frank Clark's not gone, but Frank Clark get a lot of sacks in the postseason. How many of those does he get if Chris Jones isn't in the middle drawing double teams?
Right.
He's kind of on that road.
So my thought though is like, why not offer him that kind of money, but make most of it incentive based, right? And then be like, all right, it's on you then, right? Like we can offer, we're going to max out here, but most of it's going to be incentive. If you don't get it, we kind of get it back thing, right? Like, does that not seem fair?
I don't think he would take that. I think players nowadays are all about guaranteed money because of the injury factor. And
right.
I mean, there are guys, I feel like a lot of times when you see like incentive laden contracts, it's for maybe like older players on 1-year deals that people are wondering if they're over the hill or past their prime. Chris Jones is not past his prime or over the hill. I mean, he's in his prime.
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe the Chiefs can do something. Say, look, Chris, like we can't give you $30 million a year, but you're asking for $30 million a year for 4 years, $120 million. We offered you 26 or 27 for 4 years. Maybe we'll make up a difference in a huge signing bonus. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they could work something like that out to get more.
Doesn't the cap get extended in a couple of years too?
Yeah, I mean, it's always going up. Good to see you. Thanks for coming back, John B. Appreciate you joining us, as always, bro. Enjoyed watching Locker Room Rant the other night. Listening to Nick talk about the Browns being the third best team in the AFC. Something else. So if you haven't watched Locker Room Rant, that's what you're missing. But yeah, I don't know. I put out the poll, or I put out a poll this week about Chris Jones. I kind of wanted to see what Chiefs Kingdom thought. Bo, I think you put it out on the Instagram as well, whether or not Chris Jones was going to get a contract or not. I did put the poll out on Twitter a day or so before the news that they were far apart came out, the tweet from Schefter. But a majority of the votes on this came in after that news had kind of
right.
So we've got the Insta there. Pretty similar results. They kind of step up. Majority of Chiefs Kingdom still feeling strong. I mean, as strong as you could feel, better than 75% chance that he gets a contract. He gets done before the season starts. How are you guys feeling about it? Well, where are you at, Nick?
I was more in that 26 to 50 now, right? I feel like you know, you hear him talk about, well, we table that stuff at a certain point, but you know, and then, again, I'll just refer to my previous comments at the start of the show, which is like, I have really no idea at this point, like what's going to happen. I can't say anything with any sort of certainty.
I have a coin here. We should just flip.
I mean,
Everybody gets to flip and gets to call it.
I don't think anybody expects you to know for sure, but
yeah, I voted 26-50, right? Like, I mean, I don't feel all that sure about it anymore. So
yeah, so less than 50, although that gives you a 50% chance. So I guess if you're the upper end of there, Bo, how you feeling?
Yeah, dude, I'm at 50-50. I'm just with Nick too. I mean, it's just, we can sit here and speculate all we want. We don't know what anybody's really thinking except the two parties involved right now at this point. I think we all made great valid points and they seem reasonable, but again, it's just fascinating to talk about some of these minor points as being far apart. But yeah, 50-50. I feel like it could go either way. I got a coin. Should we all flip one? Call it heads, tails, see if we get it.
I'm a little more optimistic. I'm still in the 51 to 75. I think there's a better than 50-50 chance. I don't know how much better of a 50-50 chance that he gets a new contract and they figure it out and get it done. Chris Jones has just said in the past, I will not play for any other teams. He loves Kansas City. I don't know if this is posturing by the agent going to Adam Schefter. A lot of these guys report things and then it turns out to, you know, like they weren't far apart or the deal gets done. So I'm still, like I said, I'm being optimistic. I think there's a better than 50-50 chance that it gets done. We'll see. 2 or 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, I was in the 75 to 100% though. So, I mean, I've come down a little bit.
I was too.
On my confidence level. Be interested to see what the chat thinks, where you all are at on your confidence level.
Chris Jones did put out on Instagram today, though. He's working out. He said still working was his caption, and he's wearing black workout gear with red cleats. So is that a metaphor? Is that a sign? Who knows?
I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be I think the Chiefs need Chris Jones, man. I just do. Like,
Brenda doesn't agree with you there, Scott. She's saying he's lying.
Who has the money right now to pay $30 million for a defender, though? Like, dude, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's a lie or not. It's hard to say whether he's lying or not. I mean, I tend to believe the guy, but we'll see. I don't know. He's waiting on Bosa to set the market. Well, all the talk was he was waiting on Quinnen Williams because Bosa is an edge player, right? And he's a defensive tackle, although he does play some edge. So we'll have to see what happens there. But, man, like I said, I just don't – like when you lost Tyreek Hill, you had Patrick Mahomes making up the margin by making the other players better and being a freaking magician and having Travis Kelce a rock there in the receiving core. I know he's a tight end, but I just don't see where they pick the slack up on defense if Chris Jones isn't in there. I mean, I can't even remember the guy's name that was taking first team reps. It was like Ben something. With Chris Jones not in camp, that's a huge drop off. That's a bigger drop off than Tyreek Hill. A lot bigger drop off than Tyreek Hill, in my opinion. So fingers crossed, we're going to remain hopeful. And Chris, the offer still remains. If
still
you'll sign
good,
that contract, we'll pay for that blue check mark on X or they're probably not even have the blue check mark anymore, are they? What are they going to do with that? Who knows?
We'll get you an X or whatever is going to be
silver X for verified
tag.
Account. That's not
Silver
a sports.
like
That's not a sports topic, but you have a product and an app and a brand is noticeable and is recognizable globally as Twitter, and you go and change the name. I don't understand why anybody would do that, but Elon Musk also seems like he's done pretty well in business and seems to know what he's talking about. But more news from Chiefs training camp. Kadarius Toney has surgery on his knee.
Cleanup surgery. That was the quote.
Surgery. The initial reports were that he tweaked his knee shagging punts before the first practice. And then that changed to he tweaked his knee during practice. I don't know the significance of the change of that report.
Right.
But then it was the next day it was, oh yeah, and by the way, he had surgery to clean up some cartilage, which he had in the offseason, right? He had an offseason knee surgery, I believe, to clean up more cartilage. I don't know if that's the same cartilage. I don't know if it's the same knee, but Kadarius Toney was a guy a lot of people were expecting to be the wide receiver one on this team, and a lot of high hopes for Kadarius Toney and Chiefs Kingdom, and he doesn't even make it to the first practice. He doesn't make it through the start of the first practice without an injury. Bo, what do you think about Kadarius Toney?
It worries me, man. Like you kind of hope when you hear a player's injury prone that it was like, oh no, it's just a fluke. It's a rough sport. Guys get injured. But man, is he not living up to that title, right? And I had my hopes so high on him being our WR1 that like now he might be good to go week 1 is like just like, well, no, that's kind of out the window. They're going to be looking at somebody else to fill that void if he is just a maybe for week 1. So, dude, I don't know. It just baffles me. I'm a little concerned. I'm a little bit more concerned about our receiver core now that he got hurt. Just with like how it's shaking up as far as like who our go-to guys are going to be. But there's a lot of good news on that front as far as like Patrick Mahomes liking a lot of these new guys, having them over to his house, playing on his turf and stuff like that. But as far as Kadarius Toney goes, man, that was just kind of heartbreaking news to hear. Just like, oh man, how are you going to go get yourself injured, shagging punts before practice? How are you going to get fired on your day off, Kadarius Toney? Like, oh, dude. But it is what it is, I guess. We'll see. I mean, luckily we're still far enough out, 6 weeks out, 7 weeks out. I mean, these guys are super athletes. They know how to take care of their body, and they tend to heal faster than the average person, especially with the trainers they get to work with and everything. So he could be good to go. But man, it's unfortunate that he's living up to that injury prone title.
Nick?
Yeah, goddamn, what a bummer.
Yeah.
Just it sucks. It sucks. It sucks for him. It sucks for the Chiefs Kingdom. We were expecting a lot, and to see that happen. I mean, it reminds me of some guys that I worked with when I lived in Denver. There's a guy that was constantly hurting himself, and his cousin worked for me, and I said, "Man, D broke his foot," and he's like, "Who, old Puddin' Bones?" I was like, "Puddin' Bones." He's like, "That boy's bones are made out of mashed potatoes." Like,
I love it.
He's always getting hurt.
Bones.
And it's just like, I guess it is. Some people, man, just seems like they, just for whatever reason, the way that they move or whatever, they put more stress on their body and they seem like they get hurt. But he's out there still working. I've heard, people say they've heard as late as like week 7, week 8 before he's going to be ready to play.
Wow.
I mean, if he had knee surgery, I mean, I know it's just a cleanup. So, they'll push, but then the other side of this coin, though, is I'm sitting there going, yeah, I know we had high hopes, but we got a lot of receivers in camp. And to be honest, the Kadarius Toney trade like already paid off, right? We already cashed in big on that with the touchdown and the punt return in the Super Bowl with that dude. So it's unfortunate, but the good news is, like we were saying last week, we do have a lot of guys that are in camp. We have one less than we had, I guess. We had was John Ross or whatever his name. He retired in the middle of training camp. So he went outside.
How hot is it there?
A few days. It was just like, I'm done.
But I don't even think they're training in pads yet. I think that starts tomorrow or Friday.
Yeah. I mean, it was hot out there today. It's going to be even hotter the rest of this week, supposedly. Look, if I'm John Ross and I'm looking at the depth chart and I'm way down there, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not
going to make the team.
Right. I'm out. I mean, he was a former first-round pick. He ran like the fastest 40 time by a wide receiver in the combine history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't he like tear both calves doing that too?
Yeah. I don't necessarily blame him. Maybe with the Toney news, you'd stick around a little bit longer. You think maybe that helps your chance of making the team a little bit, but it was a long shot for John Ross to make this roster. Anyway, back to Toney. The thing that's aggravating about the Toney thing is you keep seeing him posting these hype videos all offseason, doing these sick cuts and these nasty moves out on the practice field and at the park or whatever. and then the dude gets to training camp and gets hurt the first day.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Hopeful that there was reports like you said that say week 6, but there was also things like when it initially came out said, "Oh, the Chiefs are pretty confident or hopeful he'll be ready to go week 1." So who knows? Like I don't. They're extremely, even the Chiefs, even more so than other NFL teams, but all NFL teams, they are so tight-lipped about injuries. I mean, you made the joke earlier about being day-to-day, Nick.
Yeah.
Remember Eric Berry was day-to-day for like
That's what I was
3/4 of the
referencing, yeah.
season? Yeah, no, I know that's what you're referencing. I'm saying
And then it came out he had cancer.
No, this was after cancer.
That was after the cancer.
I know. I'm just a terrible joke.
Yeah.
Swing and a miss.
Look.
Sorry, you can't know them all.
Look, they
Right over my head, man.
so they're not going to tell you what's going on. You think Tony plays week 1, Nick?
No.
Bo?
Hell no. Dude just had knee surgery.
He's got Wolverine blood, man. So maybe. Let's say positive, maybe 55%, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think he plays week 1. So I think you probably see him hopefully by week 3 or 4. Man, that's how many games does he play this year then? His career high had been what, 11 or something like that, or 10 or 11 games?
Put the over under on 8.
Ooh, I'll take the over on 8.
I'm gonna push at 8. You got to do 8.5 or something, Nick, so people can't push. But
okay, 8.25 games.
I'm gonna take the under right now with him being hurt already.
Me too.
He's had hamstring issues. He's got this knee problem. I don't know.
Haven't heard anything about the hamstrings this year, right? It's just been a knee
yet.
thing. So I guess it's just a different injury. So that's why I'm just like at a hopeful 50%, right? Like
So
55.
I know we've kind of tiptoed around and haven't mentioned a lot of the Twitter stuff with him, but what do you think his mentions looked like when that news came out from Giants fans?
There was
how many middle finger emojis did he get in his inbox?
Right. There was the old GIF right now. There was the old GIF going around. Somebody put out, and it was like the person like biting their tongue and sweating, trying to like not say something, and their face was all red. And it was like yeah. Giants fans, right, trying to be the bigger person and taking the high road with Kadarius Toney, like knee injury. Yeah, I mean, I need to get the guy back as quick as possible.
For sure.
That just opens up an opportunity for somebody else. Justin Ross is making plays in training camp. There's going to be some people on Chiefs Twitter. They're going to be real mad if Justin Ross comes out and just blows up this year. And they'll never admit it. But the amount of hate and just like negativity that we've gotten when we post anything on the social media about Justin Ross, it's surprising to me. But the dude looks legit in camp right now. He's making one-handed catches out there. He's getting open. Patrick is still talking about Justin Ross. Man, especially if Tony misses time. He was running with the ones so far. Justin Ross, that is. Nick, how are you feeling about the hype train for Justin Ross right now?
Hey man, just the path to the team just got easier for him, right? I agree, Brenda. You know, Tony got the ring, right? So we can't say too much, but yeah, him. And then I've also seen some pretty good plays posted of Rashee Rice out there. You know, he looks like a big dude. So out there, I mean, catching on and McDuffie just throwing some dimes out there when he catches the ball. So, but yeah, I like all aboard. I'll go all in on him making the team and having a good season for sure. Like I think that we got a steal on that guy. And you're weird. You're right. It is kind of weird, like the amount of negativity that comes our way from Twitter. I mean, I know it's weird to say negativity coming your way on Twitter is weird, or X or whatever it is, but
these kids grew up in that world though, way more than even we did.
Don't want the guy to be good, or I mean,
I don't
know. You know. So I don't know, but
I don't know either. But I would just love to see that dude come out and just start dominating. I mean, I've been rooting for him for all along, personally, to be wide receiver one.
For sure.
Not that I don't like Tony or any of the rookies, or the Rice or Sky Moore or any of those other guys, but Justin Ross was, before he had the neck problem and at Clemson, he was like the number one wide receiver prospect in his class.
Yeah.
Dude was crushing. So a lot of talent there. Stay healthy. We'll see what he can do there. Anything else from training camp you guys want to get to before we start talking about some of this other news?
No, I was just going to echo Nick's comments about Nagy and Reed and Mahomes all singing those guys' praises, both Ross and Rice. And again, those are the two of the players that Mahomes has had over to his house and playing catch in his backyard, right? And so all the guys, I mean, it's a little biased, but it's like all the Chiefs press that's there commenting on Twitter, right? They're like, these two guys are just on a different page with Patrick Mahomes than everybody else. And it really shows, right? Having him over to his house, and I'm sure they're like on a different page. I'm sure they've worked on these routes a couple of times. So it's exciting to hear that kind of news, watching like these guys just kind of jump into the fold and step up, right? Especially with Tony kind of going out and not really having a clear WR1 at this point. I mean, MVS, I guess, is going to be that guy, but I think the spot's open. So
I'll be very surprised if MVS is the wide receiver one, but not say it can't happen, but I would probably bet on one of those other guys. It's going to be an open competition. They got Patrick Mahomes throwing them the ball. So we got every chance in the world to be successful on offense. Still got Travis Kelce cooking people out there. And the dude is like, people have been saying for, 2 years now? Oh, he's getting up there in age, and the fall off is coming. The diet has been getting better and better.
And then he breaks his own records the next year, right?
Right. So, yeah, Travis Kelce, he's out there looking good in training camp. Some of these young receivers are looking good in training camp. Hopefully, Tony can get back sooner rather than later.
Yeah. A position group that's kind of getting overlooked, though, is tight ends, right? The tight end group that we have, I guess, from the same coaches that I just mentioned prior, really, really high marks on all these guys, Bell and obviously Kelce, right? And Gray and everybody, right? Like they really loving their tight ends that they have. I'm thinking they're going to go with 4 this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw Fordson's been having some drops in training camp, which is kind of different.
Did hear that too.
Our man JT Campbell, thanks for checking in, JT. Good to see you, bro.
Hey-o.
Taking a little shot at John V there. Okay, John V, you can say whatever you want about one-handed catches and T-shirts, but he's out there with the helmet on running routes, snagging balls, running full speed one-handed, dude. Like, that's not like he's out there with like me and Nick when we do one-handed catches in the backyard, right? Like soft tossing the thing. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is out there throwing it, slinging the ball, and he's out there hauling it in one-handed. So,
hey, speak for yourself, man. When I do that in the backyard, it's as exciting as any one-handed catch in the NFL.
Feels like it's the same thing, right?
Yeah, I know, Laney, that wasn't wild about MVS last year, and he had a really good game in the AFC Championship game, but other than that,
I do owe you a T-shirt that says Butter Hands on it, don't I? I still have to make that. I did promise you I'd make that if he performed well for us.
I think you did. So MVS, he wasn't the number one wide receiver on this team last year. I mean, he was number 2, but who else do they really have out there? I don't know. We'll see. I mean, if MVS can take over as number one wide receiver and have an 11 or 1,200 yard year with 8 or 9 touchdowns or something like that, more power to him. But I wouldn't bet on it. I wouldn't bet any more money than I can afford to lose on it. So I'll just put it that way.
We kind of talked about it a little bit, but dude's getting a lot of press on the internet right now is Sky Moore. Like everybody's saying that he's stepping up and acting like a true veteran for being a year 2 player. What are your guys' thoughts on him?
Nick?
Wait and see, right? I mean, year 2 for wide receivers, kind of the year in Andy Reid's system where you'll see him pop a lot of the first year. You see him kind of return punts, doing stuff like that. I mean, obviously Sky Moore had some we won't discuss punt returns except for unless we're talking about the AFC Championship game. But
That's the only part
I'm
that
excited
happened
to
last
see,
year.
right? Like the good thing about Andy Reid and the offense, and hopefully with continuation with Matt Nagy now that Eric Bieniemy's gone, is that you hope that like they can scheme for the player and that they can design some stuff that's specific for Sky Moore and the strengths that he has. But the guy had some plays last year where you saw the potential and you saw what they saw and that made him draft him. We were just kind of, I think, all hoping for a little bit more. In the absence of Tyreek Hill, seeing that guy that's like steps up and it's like, dude, like I'm going to be the guy that's going to do it. And he didn't do it last year as a rookie, but sometimes with these receivers, it just takes them a couple years to develop. So,
Scott, thoughts on Sky Moore?
I'd love to see Sky Moore have a better year than he had last year. I mean, he couldn't really have much worse of a year than he had last year. I mean, he had less than 300 yards and no touchdowns last year. So, I mean, there's really nowhere to go but up from that guy. Do I expect him to blow up and have 1,200 yards? No. I didn't see the speed in the open field necessarily, the separation last year when he was on the field. He did make some nice plays, but there's been a lot of receivers that made nice plays here and there, like Byron Pringle, and Justin Watson, and some of these other bottom-tier receivers have flash plays. Like, consistency is what makes you like a top receiver, right? You do it game in and game out. You don't have one of these like big games or make a flash play here and then they don't call your number again for 2 or 3 weeks. So I think he'll be better, but am I expecting him to take like a huge leap and become like Patrick's number one guy or anything like that? No. I don't expect to see it out of Sky Moore. But, not saying he can't do it. How about you, Bo?
You kind of hit me in the side there, man, with what you were saying about Watson. I really like him as a receiver, man. I know like this system's so hard to get 8 catches a game in. Mahomes is throwing to 10 receivers on average per game, right? And that's only two or three catches per person on 3 attempts maybe per person, right? So I mean, it's really kind of hard to shine in this one and be that go-to guy when that's what's doing. But you're right. If you're that player, you can make that kind of happen. I would love to see him step up into that role, and the coaches and everybody on the staff do well during media day to pretend like he is stepping into that role. So like, I got to just believe with what they're saying and what they're believing. I mean, if they believe in him, let's go with it, man. Like, I hope he does. I want him to have a breakout year, kind of prove all the naysayers wrong. Going back, thinking about last year, thinking about what I saw in him, I saw great hands. He made such great catches, right? And then he would completely blow it they'd put him in the punt return team and then not have great hands and muff punts, right? So it was just like one of these back and forths for me. But like, I saw sparks there that were like, if, once he gets his feet on the ground, year 2, like Nick's saying, like that, he's used to the pace. He understands some schemes, understands the situation now. I could see him doing a lot better than 300 yards, no touchdowns. I could easily see 4 or 5 tugs from him this year.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. And I'm probably irritating Chiefs Kingdom, but I'm not one of these people that just thinks every person we draft is going to be the greatest.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
sure. But
I'm just trying to be more realistic. They tried to get him involved in the jet sweep things last year, like McCole Hardman's game. He never really broke any of those. I didn't see breakaway speed there. I didn't see a lot of separation. There was talk that he was the reason that Patrick Mahomes threw that interception that ended the game against the Bills. He wasn't where he was supposed to be. I didn't see a whole lot last year that leads me to believe that he is going to make some huge leap forward and become like a top tier receiver in this league. Again, not to say that he can't, but I didn't see really much last year from the guy. So, but Nick brings up a good point. It takes wide receivers some time to develop. I'm really interested to see what Rashee Rice can do. A bigger guy, kind of like a Juju guy, like maybe can go up and get the ball and be a bigger physical guy. So, we'll have to see. There's plenty of opportunity there. I mean, none of these guys, if they don't have a good year this year, can't say, "Oh, it was because I was stuck behind Tyreek and Travis Kelce," or There was already established guys ahead of me that I wasn't going to pass. It's wide open for any one of these guys to take the reins and be the man in that wide receiving corps. So we'll see who does it. I'm hoping for Justin Ross personally. Just because
That's
I
a safe
saw
bet. Fair bet.
Just because I saw the kid in college, and also because the guy has gotten so much hate. People comparing him to Josh Gordon. Like, Josh Gordon had been out of the league for like 5 years, basically, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? And was old.
Right,
Justin Ross
right.
is not old. So Justin Ross has had a year to recover from the surgeries. Got that neck. I know a lot of people are saying quarterback's different than wide receiver, and it is, obviously, but Peyton Manning had that neck fusion surgery. Didn't slow him down too much. So that's who I'm banking on, is our guy Justin Ross, especially if Tony's going to be hurt.
Yeah.
I think Tony probably be inside track, but if he's going to be out, that just opens that door for someone else. So, JT, Chiefs sucked for a while. We all know this. Yeah, no, they did. They were up and down.
Dude, we know. We know.
In the 90s, they won more games, I want to say, than any other team in the 90s. They had killer defenses. They just never had the quarterback. Then they sucked for a little while. We went through the Herm Edwards. Wanted to slow down this high-flying offense, like after like the Dick Vermeil days, where Dick Vermeil had damn good teams. The Chiefs had 13-3 records, and Trent Green was a hell of a quarterback, but he was no Patrick Mahomes. JT won't know when the tide was turning. We've kind of talked about this before. I don't know, maybe on previous episodes or on Twitter, but Patrick's first year as a starter, he came out, he lit up somebody week one and had a really good game, but it wasn't the best competition, right? And so it was kind of like, maybe teams are going to adjust to him and don't want to, see if it slows him down. And then week two, he came out and he roasted the Steelers for 6 touchdown passes in Pittsburgh. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I'm a believer now. I'm buying in. That's, to me, when I started seeing the tide turn, was once Patrick came in, became a starter, and put back-to-back badass performances together.
Dude, we have talked about this because I completely remember that Steelers game. There was a pass play where he was rolling out to his right. Everybody was shifting right, and it's one of those plays like, okay, it's going to be extended play, right, and it does what Mahomes does, but it wasn't anything fancy. He just rocketed one to the back of the end zone, and I remember Nick texting me like, "Oh, this kid's for real, right?" And I looked at the replay, just like, yeah, most quarterbacks don't make that pass. Just a dart to a place where only his receiver could catch it, and it was just like, yeah, kind of. I remember that text being like, something's changing here. Our quarterbacks don't usually make that play. So, yeah.
Was that against the 49ers? I want to say that was week 3 of that season.
Yeah, I think it was. It was super early in the season, but I think it might have been week 3. Yeah, one of the first touchdowns that he
spun away from the defender and circled back around the whole field, and then threw a sidearm laser to Chris Connolly in the back corner of the end zone.
Connolly.
The first time that I felt like the tide was turning was actually the first game with Alex Smith. First game with Alex Smith against the Jaguars, I want to say it was. We watched that in Estes Park together, Scotty.
Yep.
And that was we had Andy Reid and we got Alex Smith, and we'd only won 2 games the year before. And the first few drives with Alex Smith, I was like, okay, we actually have a guy that doesn't totally suck, right? We got a guy that can throw the ball accurately, can win games. Say what you want about Alex Smith. The guy was for the most part a winner, right? He didn't have a lot of postseason success. He never had, a really good defense. So that was kind of the first tier of the franchises turning around. And then I agree with Scott and Woes. The week 2, week 3 games, because we torched, we went up 21-0 on the Steelers. And it was just holy shit. And then our defense was terrible. It was just dog shit that year. They gave up 21 points right away after that. And it was 21-21. Yeah. And then Patrick Mahomes was like, okay, I'll just go score another 3 touchdowns, right? And so all of a sudden we've got 42 points. And then the next week, Scotty and I were at that game, the 49ers, sorry, John, but we scored 35 points in the first half. And I was just like, oh shit, this is what it's like, right? This is what it's like to have a team that can just do anything at will. So so yeah, I think it's just, for me, it's just like you could tell, like the way that he was making the plays, the way that the ball is coming out of his hands just looked different, and that's when like,
Finishing the plays.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So we've got the guy, right? And like then because we had seen with Alex Smith, like he was really good, but he just wasn't the dude that was gonna like win the game, get you the Super Bowl, right, in the postseason. So those 2 weeks right there, like we knew pretty much right away. So
yeah, and the question is about the tide turning from when they sucked. Yeah, no, that was when Andy.
Oh
Reid
yeah. That's a great point. Yeah, that was
when Andy
Reid.
That was the tide turning from us sucking. Was definitely, like Nick talked about, that first year where we had Andy Reid as head coach, and he brought in Alex Smith, brought in stability. The offense scoring points, the defense kind of got better, and I want to say, can't remember who we lost to in the playoffs that year, or was that the year we won the playoff game against the Texans? Was that year?
Was it his first year?
But it was still like we were losing in the playoffs, right? The first game of the playoffs, or we beat a Houston, Texas team in the playoffs that was not any good. So yeah, when Andy Reid came to Kansas City and brought Alex Smith, that was really the tide turning from us sucking, but then the tide turning even more from us being a good team that still lost at home in the playoffs to a team that was championship caliber. Was that week 2 game when he just, because the Chiefs had been like Heinz Field or whatever you want to call it now in Pittsburgh. That place had been an absolute graveyard disaster train wreck for the Chiefs. We got crushed every freaking time we played there.
All the way back to the Neil O'Donnell days, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs, they hadn't won a game there in forever, and that dude just went in there and lit up the Steelers' defense. Chiefs smoked them in Pittsburgh, and so yeah, I was like, okay, we've taken the next step from sucking to good, and then from good to like one of the upper tier teams. So good question, JT. Hopefully your guy.
That was a great question, dude.
Hopefully your guy Bryce Young can get you guys tide turning in the right direction for you all. I'm looking forward to seeing the Panthers. I've always kind of liked the Panthers. Always thought they had a dope uniform. If you know me, I'm a uniform nerd. Nick, we were having lunch the other day, and there was a baseball game on, and the Miami Marlins had some atrocious jersey, and I was sitting there. I was like, "Look at this freaking jersey that you guys are wearing. It's not even my team."
We're at lunch with my family, my kids and wife, and Scott couldn't get over it. He's like, I can't even believe that they would like. How did that happen? Just looking up on TV.
I'm afraid to ask, Scott, but what do you think about all these teams releasing their alternate or their throwback uniforms this year, like the Colts and the Texans are going to do the Oilers, right? I think that's what I saw.
No, the Titans.
Or the Titans? Excuse me.
The Titans are going to do the old Houston Oilers because that's their franchise. I think those jerseys and logos should belong to the city, not the team. So the Oilers is a cool old school look. That Lions shit that they put out was absolutely hideous. Like I wanted to like find a trash can and throw up when I saw that one. The black helmet and oh man, it was awful. I
dig the black helmet. There's the Colts with the black helmet with the blue logo.
Oh no, man. That blue and black doesn't even go together well, man. I thought
I gotta ask.
I'm like I'm out on 90% of these alternate change of pace uniforms. There's people on Chiefs Twitter putting out their black helmets and black jerseys, and I'm like, nah, man, you don't mess with perfection. Okay, the Chiefs have a solid top 2 or 3 uniform in the NFL. Don't mess with it. Okay, there's no need to do that. Yeah, I was looking at that Miami Marlins jersey, and I was thinking, imagine you make it to the major leagues, and you have to wear that piece of shit. That's what was going through my mind. So.
We got this clown suit for you to put on.
Right, yeah. Hey,
you get paid that much money, I'd wear the mascot uniform.
Yeah, after the show, or if you got to the computer nearby, Google Miami Marlins City Connect jersey for this year. It's atrocious. So
I'm gonna Google it right now.
Jean-V, Uncle Scott, are you gonna eat that? And Scott's running around the dining room bitching about an ugly uniform. No, we were at a restaurant while he was doing all this, John.
We were at a restaurant. So.
This red and like turquoise or like bright blue. Is that the one you're talking about?
It's like some ugly orange.
Yeah,
and
and it had like stripes going down, but the stripes are kind of spaced too far apart. And then their helmet was it orange?
Yeah, it was like some ugly, like.
You ever see like those oversaturated golf balls so people can see them and they look like it's almost like you're staring at the sun when you look at the golf ball? The helmet kind of had that feel to it.
Yeah, it was nasty. It was ugly looking. Good God. But hey, I'm not a Miami Marlins fan, so I don't have to wear it. So I'm not a fan of alternate jerseys, really.
I gotta say, I like them, man. I like them. Like you see the little replicas of like a black Chiefs helmet. I think that looks so sick, dude. I don't know what it is, that black and red. I mean, right now it sounds terrible because it's hot and who wants to wear black out there? But oh man, that would just be, to me, be lethal looking.
That day,
like Warriors, man, coming out there.
That'd be
that black and red.
Chiefs ever wear black uniform and helmet. Nick, what do you think about alternate unis and the stuff coming out? The Oilers stuff looked good, but I think the Texans should get to rep that.
I agree with that. I think it should belong to the city. You left. You don't get to take like the cool old school uniform with you. And Baltimore got away with that, right? They got to dump all the old Browns records when they brought the Browns back. They're like, oh, hey, by the way, this history of sadness is going back to Cleveland.
Did they give up on the trademark like the Redskins and it's fair use for everybody to use?
Yeah, there you go. So my thought on alternate uniforms, my first thought, because I'm kind of cynical as a person, is like it's a cash grab to get people to just buy more gear, right? They're like, oh, well, like they'll buy this because there's people that just got to have everything that's team related. So that's my first thought. Second thought is I kind of like it, right? Yeah. Scott, you can look at Scott's closet. He's got $7,000 worth of jerseys. But
I do have a lot.
Look, if they're done well, Scott doesn't like them. I like the Royals alternate uniforms, the darker blue with like the fountain logo, because KC's the city of fountains, right? So I mean, it's just all the things. Like if it doesn't suck, then I like it. But when you come out with something and it doesn't look that good, you're sitting there just going, oh, so like you just put out some shitty uniform that you didn't put a lot of thought into just so that you could get the fans to dump more money on it. So it really just kind of depends on how it's executed, I guess.
Bo, what do you think? You like them?
I do, man. I'm a fan of it. Like some teams, I mean, they have great uniforms. We are one of them. And some teams just kind of missed the mark, man. The Lions, I kind of feel like, are one of them. The Lions had a fan on Instagram like design a new logo for them and then come up with like uniform IDs uniform alternate colors for them. She crushed it and it looked so good. And like the NFL or the Lions just said, nah, the heck with that. Like I think it had like 70,000 like up votes or whatever it is on Instagram to like she had a petition to like get it in front of the Lions. And they just said, nah, but she nailed it. But I'm a fan of anything that like kind of breaks the stagnation sometimes. I too am one of those guys that will buy a throwback or an alternate jersey, right? I have a black Dwayne Bowe jersey. So like after rocking that enough, I'm like, hey, I kind of like this. Maybe I'm just trying to convince myself that it looks good, but I really do like the black uniforms. There's something about it. I don't know. I think it looks sharp. It looks
John V. You'll have to specify whether you're talking about the team is playing as good as burnt turds or that the alternate uni that I was talking about was as good as a burnt turd. Because if you're talking about the way the team has been playing, they have been historically bad this year. But
have you guys seen when the Royals and the Chiefs like play with the idea of changing colors? I mean, I think it's in a thing in Kansas City. Like, have you guys seen when they do that and they like have the Chiefs in like the baby blue or whatever, or the blue?
Yeah, they do like Royal. They do like Chiefs Day at the K or whatever, and so they have like the blue stuff. I'm kind of a traditionalist too. I just don't like messing with the tradition. And no, John, all my uniforms aren't red. I've got several blue. I've got a sick gray road Kansas City Royals uniform. I got some pretty good Sporting KC. They change their soccer teams are notorious for changing their uniform like every season or every other season. I got some pretty dope SKC jerseys. So
They change their jerseys more than they change their sponsors on the front.
Right. We were talking about Chris Jones' contract earlier. There's been some quarterbacks with some new contracts here recently. Looks like our guy John C.
What's up, John?
Tuning good to see you, John. Appreciate you jumping in, man.
Good old Fort Fun, John C.
I don't. John C. in the Rocky Mountains. That sounds nice after today, man. Like how hot it was, but Justin Herbert gets the richest per season, like average annual value quarterback contract.
It's hard to say without laughing or even hear. Sorry, I'm not even saying it.
I mean, were they just giving him $2 million for every point that they blew that lead in the playoff game against the Jaguars last year per year? Is that where they calculated that contract out? Justin Herbert, dude's Phillip Rivers 2.0, man. Like he'll throw for a bunch of stats and have a bunch of numbers and look really great, but he makes mistakes in crunch time and loses. That just got a lot harder for the Chargers to catch the Chiefs, which they weren't able to do anyway. Herbert's not awesome, John. He's been in the league for, 4 years now, and he's never won a playoff game. So that's not very awesome. Jimmy G, been to, 2 NFC championship games? Justin Herbert hasn't. I realize that's not all on them. It's a team game, but a lot of it is on the quarterback. So what was your reaction, guys, when you saw Justin Herbert getting a ridiculous contract? It's like almost $50 million per year or something when you average it out. Bo?
Dude, my immediate thought was thinking to like all these other quarterbacks who are trying to get paid that are legitimately better, and just going like, how do these guys keep getting? How are you paying Kirk Cousins this much money? How do you keep paying this guy this much money? How is Derek Carr getting paid? Right? And you're just like, how are they keep like Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson? These guys really messed up the whole field as far as what quarterbacks get paid. Apparently, you don't have to produce anymore to get just outrageous contracts. Like Mahomes' contract was like insanely good for the time, right? That's because he won the Super Bowl for a team that hadn't won it in 50 years, right? It was like everybody was finally like, yes, we got the guy here. Let's keep him. This is our guy. Let's give him money. Like I don't understand why they're like all these franchises are doing this for quarterbacks that aren't proven. Like you said, like hasn't won a playoff game. He's been to 1, 2 playoff games. I think just one,
right? I think.
It baffles me, man. I just immediately felt bad for all these other quarterbacks who have talent that aren't getting paid, but just laughed. It's so funny to hear every time. What about you, Nick? What'd you feel when you first heard
every time I see one of these guys get 50+ million a year, it just makes me feel warm inside because Patrick Mahomes' contract is already in the past and signed in, for the next 10 years, and he's not making that much money. So every time you get another, this guy makes X, it just bumps him down the rung, and it just makes the path to victory for the Chiefs that much easier, right? Like they're gonna have they're gonna have that much easier of a time signing free agents when they're paying these guys these crazy contracts. Dude, my first thought was, yeah, it happened before Joe Burrow's, because now you're gonna give Justin Herbert 52. How much do you got to give Joe Burrow, right? So that's literally my first thought. My thought about the contract, that's what they got to do to keep him. That's my thought, right? So the quarterbacks have all the leverage. You could say what you want about the guy. He obviously didn't end the season well, blowing a 27-point lead in the postseason. But he is one of the better quarterbacks in the league, and you're not going to let that guy walk because you're not going to, what are the odds of finding another guy that good in the draft? I mean, not great, right? So they got to pay him what they're going to pay him. The contracts I think are getting kind of silly, when you talk about that. But yeah, that's my first reaction is just great, dude. Like people are like, well, Joe Burrow should just negotiate 24% of the salary cap, and I'm like, he should negotiate 90% of the salary cap. You guys should pay him all the money. And then you got to get the rest of the guys from the Home Depot parking lot. Please do that.
Put in the water boy.
They overpay these guys. So
Yeah, I mean it's hard because as Chiefs fans, we want to compare him to Patrick Mahomes, but he's having like the best start to his career ever, right? But I mean, if I'm a NFL GM and like my quarterback's agent comes to me and he's like, I want $52 million a year. And I'm like, see what Patrick Mahomes is making? That's the max we're gonna pay you. Okay. Like
Right.
these guys haven't won Super Bowls. They haven't won the division. Chargers haven't won he hasn't won the division, let alone how many playoff games the guy's been to. Man, not to say these guys suck, but Justin Herbert's not. He's not $52 million a year good or whatever ridiculous number he got. He's just not. And I don't want to hear it either that it's, oh, John was talking, oh, well, it's not his problem. He's got shitty coaching or he's got this or that. Give me a break, man. Like, he's throwing interceptions in the fourth quarter to lose to the Texans to miss the playoffs, right? I mean, the Chargers every year are the darling pick. Oh, they got a loaded roster. They got this guy. They got that guy. They got Austin Eckler. They got Keenan Allen. They got Mike Williams. They went and added this guy on defense. Like,
all those guys pretty much got hurt last year,
right,
too. That's what's crazy.
He still doesn't get it done. So I don't want to hear that he doesn't have talent. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, he had maybe one of the biggest buffoons ever for head coach, Mike McCarthy. He went to a Super Bowl and won a Super Bowl. Won his division every year. I'm sorry. I'm not blaming the coaches. Not that he has great coaching, but
I like Brenda's comment. Mahomes laughing all the way to the bank with endorsement money, right?
Yeah.
Like that. How much do you think that Netflix money is going to be making him now?
A lot. He's making a lot.
Finally finished quarterback, by the way. That's
right.
So good.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about that here in a second. So, yeah, good luck, Chargers, catching the Chiefs that you're paying your quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, what, $10 million a year more than Patrick Mahomes is making, or $8 million a year more than Patrick Mahomes is making? Yeah, good luck with that. Let me know how that works out for you. So,
well, it's only for 4 or 5 years, too, so that he's going to get another at-bat, you know?
Right. That was the other thing with Patrick Mahomes. They got his was like 10 years, right?
Yeah.
So, I think Patrick Mahomes will probably get his contract rewritten before that 10-year comes up.
Agree.
But just be thankful too that like the guy Patrick just doesn't really seem like he cares about the money that much. He's like, I'm making plenty of money. The endorsement point is an awesome point because that guy is making more money in endorsements than a lot of these other guys probably are going to make per year in quarterback.
Exactly.
So you guys, Mike Florio, his ridiculous
Florio.
How if Patrick Mahomes wants to like basically help Clark Hunt become rich with his crappy contract, like this is the dude that was like praising Tom Brady for taking team-friendly deals and being about a team and being about winning, right? Not long ago. And now he's being critical of Patrick Mahomes. I don't know what's going on there. Like there's got to be some bad blood or something between Mike Florio and the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes because he's just like deranged with his resentment towards Patrick Mahomes' contract. It's getting weird at this point. Not that a lot of his takes aren't weird or that he really has a whole lot of clue about what he's talking about.
But it's becoming like obsessive a little bit, right?
Right. Patrick Mahomes is going to have to get a restraining order on Mike Florio. So Mike Florio, man.
I think, dude, honestly, all right. I honestly think he saw Skip Bayless kind of exit the corporate media world in the sports world. He's like, there's room for a heel in here. All you got to do is take the Skip Bayless take, right? And so, like, I kind of think, dude, he's just like, hey, it's getting me clicks. I'm just going to keep hammering this drum until it wears out, essentially. Like, I don't know. Like,
do you think Mahomes like looks out on his yard and he sees Mike Florio? He's like, "I'm just trying to contact you about your car's extended warranty." Like,
right? Yeah,
dude, just leave me alone.
Oh,
yeah.
Like,
why is Mike Florio so worried about what Patrick Mahomes is making? There's got to be something has to happen. He has to have gotten bad information from someone from the Chiefs or Patrick, like. Like,
No, I'm sure there's a sound bit of him out there talking about how great the deal was when they first signed it, right? Because like
Maybe.
it was a win-win deal, a 10-year contract, and he was getting paid the highest at the time and all this stuff. I guarantee you there's a sound bit of him praising that contract at one point. Now, yeah, it's ridiculous. Just clickbait,
I
pot
think there's
stir,
something to
man.
that, Scott. I think there is, because didn't Florio, he reported that they're going to be restructuring Mahomes' contract this offseason, didn't he?
he said something. He expected him to have a reworked deal by week 1. I don't know if he got that from a source or if he was just guessing, but yeah, it's weird. And there's a lot better places to get your NFL news than Mike Florio. So
Yeah, like Chiefs Kingdom Life.
yeah, Chiefs Kingdom Live.
There's a like button over here
subscribe.
somewhere. I don't know where it is. I don't,
Yeah.
my mirrors, my screen's flipped, so
Right.
it's
hate
down
Mike
there
Flo-
somewhere.
If you hate Mike Florio as much as we do, click that like button. Let us know.
Use our like button as a I hate Mike Florio vote.
Yeah, it's getting
I
wild.
don't know. John C's got power outage over there. Hope everything's good, man.
No power, but he's still watching Chiefs Kingdom Live, man. You're the man, John.
That's what I'm talking about.
You're the man. Yeah, so Justin Herbert's now the highest paid quarterback in the NFL per year, and maybe they can make the wild card and lose again, blow a lead.
I tried not to laugh.
Aaron Rodgers got a new deal with the Jets, and I don't really understand like the way that works because I was reading about it and it's weird. It's like they're saying he
I didn't
took
hear
like
about this.
$40 million pay cut or something.
I saw you guys texting about it, but I didn't have enough time.
Right, but his contract was weird the way it was set up. Like he was supposed to make like $10 million this year and then like $100 million next year or something. So I don't know. Aaron Rodgers reworked his deal, and it was like strange circumstances the way because he got traded obviously from Green Bay. So the contract Green Bay had him signed to carries over to New York. So he's taking a pay cut.
Getting paid in ayahuasca.
Getting paid in ayahuasca. Dude, I like Aaron Rodgers. I don't understand the hate for Aaron Rodgers that everybody has. Like, he just does his own thing.
I don't think there's any hate for him other than corporate media.
Oh no, man, you must not watch much like TV or much.
I said other than corporate media. I think everybody loves Aaron Rodgers. He's a lovable guy.
No, I was out with my buddy Dan. My buddy Dan was in town a few weeks ago, and we were out there. We were talking to this chick, and she works at one of the sports radio stations here in town. She was talking about how rude he is and how much of a jerk she thinks he is. And there's a lot of people that don't like Aaron Rodgers, man. I know a lot of people that don't like him. And
Right.
I mean, yeah, Johnny is different, but that don't mean he's bad. Like there's a lot of people that are talking trash on him for doing his darkness retreat. It's like, well, why do you care what he does in his free time? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I love the guy, man. The fact that he's willing to get on like the Pat McAfee show for 40 minutes at a time, 50 minutes, like just kind of uninterrupted. You really get a feel for what he's really thinking. He's not going like with the scripted answers you hear players after a game in a post-game interview. I mean, he's really telling you what he thinks about his players, his surrounding staff. You know, that was interesting when he was talking shit about Green Bay on that show. But no, I mean, I think the majority of people respect and like the guy. I mean, you're always going to get haters, even if you don't have haters, you're not doing something right.
Didn't you take a darkness retreat? It's called getting married, John. Not too long ago.
If that's what it is, man, I'm about to take the plunge. Oh man.
Right. Bo's not too far away.
Water's fine, Bo. Just jump in.
Right. I don't know. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we get out of here?
Yeah, on a way more positive note, Isaiah Pacheco participated a lot in training camp today. I saw the reports of him participating in 7-on-7s instead of just being on the side doing individual stuff.
Yeah.
As we all know, he's kind of coming off of a couple surgeries in the off season. He had something on his shoulder, I think, and then something on his knee. And so just great news to see him getting into like more team element practice. You know, I mean, that's a sign of progression and that they keep you on the side by yourself until you're ready to go. So just a couple more days till we see him in 11v11, and then hopefully he's good to go week 1. So I really like the way that guy runs. So stoked to see him doing well, and that was great news to see coming out of training camp.
Yeah, I'd like to see him get the opportunity, the RB1 to start the season. I think he will. You got Jarrett McKinnon in there, obviously good pass catching back, old tired legs, John V's favorite. Deneric Prince is kind of turning heads too.
Yeah, he's getting talked about.
Receiving ability in training camp. So yeah, running back room's looking up. Not if you're CEH, you probably ain't looking too good, but if you're Isaiah Pacheco, it's looking a lot better.
You're just not gonna let CEH rest in peace, are you?
Not until he's gone. Until we know he's gone for sure. So training camp looks good. I didn't get a chance to get up there Monday. I kind of goofed up my time off, so I was hoping to get up there and check it out. But it was really crummy weather that morning. It was like raining and hailing and had some nasty storms and stuff. So missed out season ticket members day at training camp this year. But I don't know. They got plenty more days coming up. Maybe I can get a ticket. Maybe I can swoop up here next coming week or something like that. Check that out. So I don't know. Anything else you guys want to get?
Do it.
I need to.
Why not? Do it.
We had the other poll. Did you want to throw that one up there?
Oh, the running back thing? Yeah, it didn't really come up, but we can talk about it.
Yeah, here, hold on.
I mean, we talked about it last week. Running backs, I guess they had some Zoom meeting the running backs did this last week. That's Mike Florio again. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
We talked about this last week pretty in depth, the running back situation, and they're unhappy with their contracts and guys aren't getting paid second contracts. They supposedly had some sort of Zoom call this week where I don't know what they were hoping to accomplish with that necessarily, but we had talked about Saquon Barkley and these guys, and he got offered. He didn't get the amount of money he wanted. I was kind of surprised when I heard though, that he was in that around $15 million a year range. So he wasn't asking for anything crazy, but you got wide receivers making $30 million a year. Running backs obviously don't last as long, but pretty important component to a lot of teams. I don't think you should pay big money to a running back because, you look at a team like the Browns had Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, and they won. They got one playoff win to show for it. Running backs get injured. So I put this poll out after the discussion we had last week about whether or not running backs were getting treated fairly or not. So I wanted to see, and I started at that $10 million a year thing. And there were people that were hitting us up on Twitter saying, well, if you go by EPA, per play, they're not even worth anywhere near $10 million. You should have started the poll lower. And I was like, well, Saquon Barkley got offered 10.5 on a franchise tag for a running back. So that's why I started it there.
Okay.
Looks like a majority of Chiefs Kingdom, the people that participated in this vote anyway, they kind of agree with the team franchise tag. The 10 to 15 million a year is fair. And then it just kind of goes down from there. I mean, hardly anybody thought that they were worth 20 million or more. It's on a position that has a lot of shelf life, and it's becoming less and less important to winning in the NFL with the proliferation of passing offenses and these elite quarterbacks and wide receivers. If you're a running back, you're not going to get paid a lot of money. That's just, and I know people are saying, well, that's unfair to them or whatever, well, a lot of these guys, though, if they weren't playing running back, they'd have regular jobs like the rest of us. So, is making $10.5 million really that unfair to play football? I don't know. I don't think so. What do you guys think? Where do you weigh in on this? You think they hit the nail on the head here? You think running backs should be getting more than that? 10 to 15, Nick?
Well, when you're paying Herbie the Love Bug $52 million a year, to lose playoff games, he's up by 27 points. I don't know. I was more in the. I think
one
that
of the best running backs in the league too, with Austin Eckler, that hadn't really served him all that much. So
right. I mean, I think Saquon Barkley's worth more than that to the Giants. You know, should the Chiefs pay a running back that much money? Absolutely not. But I mean, like Saquon Barkley, I think means just as much to that team as Daniel Jones does, and they gave Daniel Jones like $40 million a year, right? So I don't know. So I think it's dependent upon the situation. I think that they're underpaid. You can look at, you know, the EPA or whatever and say that they should earn less, but a lot of that time they're taking these snaps at the end of games. They're burning down the clock, right? They're in situations where people know that they're going to be running, so I think that skews some of those statistics probably. I think that a guy like that is worth 16 to 20, maybe 25 million a year is a bit much. But look at it this way: how much if we could have, if they said, hey, if you give $22 million a year, we can bring back prime Jamal Charles. Would you make the deal or no?
That's a
yes.
pretty wild.
That's a little 2020 though.
That's pretty far out there. I don't know how. I don't.
That's
really
like a hindsight 2020 thing though. I would.
I don't know. I would pay any. I wouldn't pay any running back $20 million a year on this team.
No, you wouldn't pay that to have that kind of productivity, 6 yards a carry.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's like I said. It's kind of a strange hypothetical. Like I don't really know like how that fits into.
Well, we're talking about like how much should you pay running backs, so we know like any of these guys if you get their productivity in today's NFL, like is it worth it?
I mean, I don't think so. No, I don't think any running back is worth that much money.
What about Derrick Henry? You don't think he commands that much money?
Derrick Henry taking the Titans too.
He's got
right.
Having a stud running back and this running the ball stuff. It's not that, dude. That's ancient history football, man.
No, man. I think it's not that dead important. Wrong, bro. I think you're dead
Quarterbacks
wrong.
and receivers are the key, man.
We got blessed with the best quarterback to ever play the game, right? And he is changing the game, but I think you're dead wrong about it. There's so many teams that could benefit from having a good run game to open up their passing game, like you're saying, man. And you're right. It's not going to be like games of the day where you run it to the grindstone and you run the ball in on every play, but when you have somebody like Derrick Henry that takes the focus of three players on the defense off of you, it opens up so much more. And like, I don't know, like I agree with you. I go back and forth. I agree with you that there's not a lot of running backs that can command that much money, but there are some, and it's pretty team dependent. It's pretty individually dependent, but I don't think it's like a league average. But I mean, so what you just don't want to see any runs anymore, like any running back position? You don't think that they are necessary to football? Like I don't know,
running the ball is not that important.
Where do you think the teams like the Bills and the 49ers would be if they didn't have their running, or like if the Bills had a running back and the 49ers didn't have a running back? Where do you think they would be? Like they kind of like those two teams highlight the importance of that position, I feel like.
I mean, the Bills have been pretty damn good. They were the one seed without a running back, and Josh.
Where would they be with a running back? That's what I'm trying to say.
I don't think they'd be that much better. I don't. No.
If they had, that doesn't make sense.
It does make sense. If they were running the ball more, they wouldn't be passing the ball with Josh Allen and scoring as many points as quickly as they would. I mean, I get it. I know, like, I get where you guys are coming from, but you're thinking like old Chiefs Marty ball, run the ball, and like.
No, I'm thinking last year's 49ers, Christian McCaffrey dominating the NFC.
Dude, the Chiefs just won the Super Bowl with Isaiah Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon.
Who are great running backs. I think
they're not great running backs.
Yes, they are, dude.
Okay. They're average. They're average.
Yeah.
If Jerick McKinnon was so great, how come he keeps signing 1-year deals year to year?
Because nobody will sign running backs for one. But I think that where we really have lost not having a great running back, there's been games where we lost because we could not run a 4-minute offense, where we could not get first downs. Pacheco did it with to seal it out last year, but there's I mean, there's games where you need to be able to run the ball. You need to be able to eat up the clock, and you need to just be able to like demoralize your opponent. And that we don't have it, right? So how much is that worth? I don't know.
You need to be able to. You need to be able to stretch the field and score points more quickly, and have higher scoring to win a majority of the games. Dalvin Cook, the Vikings had Dalvin Cook. They went home in the first round last year.
You're gonna okay.
The 49ers got smoked by the Eagles.
The teams you're pointing out are the Browns and the Vikings for not doing much, and maybe I brought up Derrick Henry, right? Look at their quarterback.
They focused on the running game, and that's not going to get you where you want to go in the NFL anymore. It's just not. If that's the focal point of your offense and your team is your running back and your running game, you're behind. You are behind the 8 ball.
So you don't think Christian McCaffrey going to the 49ers changed the dynamic of that team and their overall success of last year? It wasn't the running back that did that. It was the receivers and their quarterbacks.
I mean, they played in a shitty NFC.
Okay.
They barely beat the Cowboys, for crying out loud, and then got smoked by the Eagles in the championship game, who, guess what, had Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, man. You're overvaluing running backs big time. You are.
Dude, we've talked about this, though. They were playing with a 4th-string quarterback at that point, though, man. Like,
which should even make the running game even better.
No, you can't throw you're missing the point of complementary football where like all these parts play equal roles, man. And if you're only running it, it's pretty easy to stop the run game if that's all you have and you know the team can't throw it.
How many times have you seen the Chiefs run the ball for 1 yard on 1st and 2nd down, and then Patrick Mahomes makes a killer play to Travis Kelce for 20 yards and a 1st down? Dude, it's not that important. Running the ball is not that important. It's not that important. I'm telling you.
I disagree respectfully, sir.
Respectfully.
There's a lot of NFL people that would also, dude, it's such a huge part of the game. Still, as much as you don't like to think it is, it's not, dude.
If
we'll see it when like all these free agents that had their Zoom call decide to strike and not play this year or something. That's what I think they were good to
do. You think go out and find another running back?
Scott?
Huh?
Do you think losing Kareem Hunt that year cost us the Super Bowl victory?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think we would have got?
I think our defense cost us the Super Bowl. Our defense cost us the Super Bowl that year.
You don't think that we would have scored some points in the? Would we have gone to the Super Bowl? Because we got shut out in the first half, right? I mean, the best offense we've ever had was because we had Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and Kareem Hunt in his prime, right?
I don't know about that.
You don't think that was the best Chiefs offense?
Patrick had what, like the most yards ever last year by a quarterback?
He didn't throw as many touchdowns, though.
He threw 40-something. Like, what, 45, 42 touchdowns? I mean, I'm just telling you, man, you're overvaluing the running back. You can go out and find replacement level running backs to come in and run the ball for a lot cheaper and focus on paying guys like Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson and Chris Jones and Nick Bosa and more elite level guys that are harder to find that are more impactful on winning football than a running back.
I think you're undervaluing the running back in the sense that if the Bills got a running back like a Derrick Henry or a Christian McCaffrey, they would be the number 1 team in the league. No doubt. No doubt. It would make Josh Allen's passing game so easy. He wouldn't have to run. There'd be no reason for him to run. So like he would be chill and protected. He wouldn't get hurt during the season and he'd be way more accurate towards the end of the season. And they'd have a running game to actually rely on and run the clock out against teams.
The Chiefs have the number 1 offense year in, year out in the NFL.
Because they have a productive backfield.
They've gone through Spencer Ware and Sharkandrick West and Jerick McKinnon. And
I'm not saying we've had the best running backs, but we haven't had the worst.
Below average running backs, and they're the number 1 offense in the NFL. Because
we've had average, we haven't not had the worst.
Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins and all these other guys. I'm telling you.
I mean, you're telling us, but we're telling you, man. And I don't know. Like, you can keep telling
I'm
us,
backing
we can keep
myself up with
telling you.
evidence.
I think
Like,
it's just
you're coming to me with
we are
hypothetical.
too.
Oh, well, imagine how good this team would be if they had this person.
What
I'm giving you
hypothetical
actual
evidence is last year's
specific
49ers
examples.
team? That is a real team. They got down to their fourth string quarterback, and then they couldn't
Bro,
throw
they
the
barely-
ball. What's hypothetical about that?
They barely beat the Cowboys in the playoffs last year and got steamrolled by the Eagles.
Because they didn't have a quarterback.
You know, and all
The only reason that they were even there, though.
Christian McCaffrey's so great, you shouldn't even need a running back.
Oh my God, bro! Do you not understand how football works? You need to be able to throw it and run it, dude. Like,
I do.
What are
We're
you
not saying
talking
give him
about? The
$50
running
million
back
a
can't
year,
just run the
Scott.
ball every play. Like,
You're saying give him $20 million a year to Saquon Barkley. And if you
Nobody
give a
said give
$20
anybody $20 million.
Nick said that.
I did.
Nick said,
Yeah.
If you give a running back
he's
$20
worth
million
that to the
a year,
Giants.
if you give a running back $20 million a year, you're a fool. And you're gonna
miss
be
that.
You're gonna be a team that goes home. You might get into the playoffs every once in a while and win a weak division or get a wild card appearance, but you're gonna be fucking going home regularly early in the playoffs. Because you're gonna get beat by teams that can throw the ball and have dynamic passing offenses.
But
How many
you
touchdowns
just
did Jerick
Saquon Barkley
McKinnon
to
have
catch
last
the
year?
ball. Like, you don't have to just hand the ball
And
off.
Jerick McKinnon, he was at those were like receiving touchdowns he had last year.
What position did he play? What position did he play?
They were throwing the ball
running back. Running back. Who covers running backs? Linebackers. Why wouldn't you throw it to a running back that has 4.4 speed and it's getting covered by a linebacker? Why wouldn't you?
Pay Jerick
and most
McKinnon?
of them are what? 4 or 5 yard passes. It wasn't like that dude's running routes.
So you want to pay
He's
Jerick
running
McKinnon?
out of the backfield.
So you want to pay Jerick McKinnon $15 million a year?
No, you're putting words in my mouth.
No, I'm
saying
telling
the
you,
value
like,
of the running back. You're
underpaid.
undervaluing.
And they're
I'm
not
saying you're
underpaid.
undervaluing the position of the running back. I'm not saying
I'm talking about paying
like
them. I'm talking about paying guys money. You don't pay running backs a lot of money, regardless of who they are, because they're not.
I would
that
say that
important.
Jerick McKinnon provided more value last year than MVS did, and MVS made a lot more money just because he's in a different position.
I don't know how much more money MVS made than.
Didn't
Sure.
MVS did when he making like $10 million a year, something like that?
I don't think so.
Maybe somebody, the folks in the
I
chat.
think Juju was making like 9 or 10. I think MVS was making less than that.
Yeah, just while we've been arguing
agree
about
to disagree, I guess.
John V has just been having a renaissance of comments about Scott, which has been really
No,
fun
I
to
mean, I
see.
get it. Like John, I get that John V thinks that running backs are super important because his team overvalues them. But the proof's in the pudding.
I've been told to keep it down.
Keep it down in there, Bo.
Get a
You're
little
waking up
animated
kids.
over here.
No, see, John V's saying I'm wrong because Green Bay and average shows when you can't. They got one of the best running backs in the league, Aaron Jones. They neglected wide receivers and paid Aaron Jones a lot of money, and that's why they underperformed. They didn't give Aaron Rodgers enough passing weapons. When he had Greg Jennings and he had Jordy Nelson and he had more than one legit wide receiver, they went to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl.
Do you not
And then
view
they
the
started
running back
ignoring wide
as a
receiver
passing
and
weapon?
overpaid a running back, and they stopped going to Super Bowls.
Do you not view the running back as a passing weapon?
Not as much as an actual wide receiver, no.
Even though we had Jerick McKinnon last year?
Derrick Henry is not some pass-catching wide receiver.
No, I didn't say. I
Nick
was bringing
Chubb,
up Derrick
you guys
Henry.
just talking
I
about,
was
yeah,
bringing
Derrick
up Derrick
Henry and
Henry
Chubb.
in relation to the value of his team. I wasn't bringing up like I did bring him up metaphorical. If he was on the Bills, how unstoppable the Bills would be. But you're right, that was metaphorical.
I
Jerick
don't think
McKinnon
he's
last
done that
year
much.
was running back.
I mean,
and crushed
dude,
it
if
as a passing weapon.
prime Derrick Henry was on the Chiefs these last few years, like how many Super Bowls in a row are we talking about winning?
We went to 3 out of 4 Super Bowls without him, Nick. So what
Yeah.
does that matter? So you're going to go pay Derrick Henry a lot of money? No.
I'm just saying that he would have provided value. We probably could have three-peated with him on the freaking team.
Not worth 15 or 20 million a year.
I don't know, man.
I don't think they three-peat. I don't think like Derrick Henry like put him over the edge. I mean, they've been to 3 of the last 4 and won 2 of them. So that's with mediocre running backs, man.
Yeah, just imagine if they had a good running back. Like you just
No, it's because they had better wide receivers and quarterback, and they weren't worried about running the ball. That's why they won. That's why they went to and won all those Super Bowls.
well, they went to and won all the Super Bowls because they had Patrick
the
Mahomes.
Chiefs run. Jamal Charles, perfect example. You want to bring up Jamal Charles? How many fucking playoff games did we win with Jamal Charles? The greatest yard per carry running back ever. He didn't take us anywhere in the playoffs because
we didn't have Patrick Mahomes, dude. We had Matt Castle at quarterback.
We didn't have Tyreek Hill, and we didn't have Travis Kelce, and we didn't have Patrick Mahomes. You just made my point for me.
I'm not saying it's more important than the quarterback, Scott.
Complementary football, my man. Like it's all interconnected. They all matter. They all matter.
Running backs don't matter that much. They don't. They don't.
All right, man.
NFL executives and teams are figuring that out and agree with me.
Yeah,
we should just tell our
game because we can't close it out and we're running for 1 yard up the middle and we punt it away. I'm going to say it's okay. Running backs don't matter, Scott. The running game is
defense
dead.
couldn't get a stop and win the game for you too.
It wouldn't even need to come to that.
The playoff game.
4-minute offense wins games. 4-minute offense wins games. Closes them out.
The playoff game against the Browns, they threw the ball for first down to ice the game with freaking Chad Henne.
Yeah, because they did it as a trick play.
I don't know.
You're saying running backs are more valuable and worth more money than they are. And that's proving out, and teams are figuring it out, and that's why they're not paying these guys.
I mean, I do agree with you that
Isaiah
will be
Pacheco signed jersey.
I like Isaiah Pacheco, but he's not like the key cog in the. He's not the reason we won the Super Bowl last year.
I know there's a sound bit of you on this podcast saying, "Could you imagine what we would be with a good running back before we found Pacheco and we had the Pacheco McKinnon combo? And we were just dealing with CEH."
Yeah, how many times did we talk about if we had drafted Jonathan Taylor, right?
And then what happened? We got 100%, and then we got two decent running backs who are of better value. That one of them was a passing
Taylor either. I would not have drafted Jonathan Taylor. I'm saying when the Chiefs drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire, if they were going to pick a running back, they picked the wrong running back. But I would not have picked Jonathan Taylor either. I wouldn't pick a running back in the first 2 rounds in the draft ever. Probably not the first 3 rounds. You got freaking Isaiah Pacheco in the 7th round. Like, why are you going to go pay that guy a lot of money? Easily replaceable for less money because they're not that important.
And our receivers have been easily replaceable.
Position determines your value in the NFL, though.
Scott, we won the Super Bowl with a bunch of replacement level receivers too, because we had Patrick Mahomes
and Travis Kelce.
Basically
one of the best wide receivers. Receiving tight ends to ever play the game. It's just mind-blowing me that you don't understand what I'm saying. How many years did you sit there and watch the Chiefs have the best run?
We understand, but it's fine. We just disagree.
They had the best offensive line in the history of football with Priest Holmes and Larry Johnson, and they didn't win shit because running the ball is not that important. And paying running backs is a waste of money. That's why.
I'm just saying you've got quarterbacks making $52 million a year, and you've got Tyreek Hill making $30 million a year. And people are saying that paying a running back, like the best running back in the league, more than $6 million a year is a waste of money. And you
ever seen Tyreek Hill had 200 yards receiving in a quarter? You ever seen a running back get 200 yards rushing in a quarter and 2 or 3 touchdowns?
I mean, I saw Amani Toomer rush for over 200 yards against us.
In 1 quarter?
In 1 game, it didn't matter. They kicked the shit out of us.
It's about stretching the field and scoring points and putting up points. And you do that passing the ball, not running the ball.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously not going to change your mind.
Right.
I mean, I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. I'm just defending what I'm saying. Running backs are overrated. Run game is overrated. And you don't pay running backs a lot of money. You just don't. You go draft an Isaiah Pacheco in the 7th round or in the 5th round, and you tailor your offense around passing. And then when it comes time for a running back to want money, you let him go. You let somebody else overpay him, and you go get another Isaiah Pacheco in the 5th round. That's what you do.
Okay, so we'll agree to disagree because this is just going in circles now. I'm gonna go with Laney. How about that Travis Kelce trying to get Taylor Swift's phone number or trying to give her?
Man, Travis Kelce's getting shot down. That's brutal.
I
Dang.
know, right? How
Man, imagine
rich
being
and famous do you have to be to meet Taylor Swift, man? Jeez.
Apparently, really rich and famous. I mean, I don't know. Travis Kelce, one of the most famous athletes in the world right now, right?
Right.
Doing Saturday Night
he's
Live.
still not on
all
Taylor
this other
Swift
stuff.
level, right?
I don't know.
Been a TV star for years.
I don't know.
Football, catching Kelsey. He's got a
Catching
podcast
Kelce, baby.
now. Did you guys catch his podcast this week or last week? Last one with Julian Edelman.
I did not.
Yeah, I did. It was pretty good.
Yeah, dude, I'd recommend anybody who's watching, if you haven't checked out the one with Julian Edelman, that one, I was laughing pretty hard throughout that one. That's some real good insight to like how players are on the field and then like behind the scenes a little bit too. I like Julian Edelman's stories. He seems like he likes to party.
Yeah, no, he's wild. He's wild. That was a good interview. It was funny. He was pretty funny, like Edelman was. I mean, I hate Patriots, so I was kind of like, when I saw him on there, I was like, ugh.
Did they ask him if the punt touched his hand?
No, I can't believe they didn't ask him.
No, I know, right?
God, well, I was waiting for them to ask. I was waiting for Travis to ask him, but
Dude, it touched your hand, right?
All right, well, I'm going to jump out of here. I got to get a few things done here before bedtime. So appreciate everybody jumping in the conversation, joining the chat. Brenda and John and Big Doug and Laney and John C. and John V. and our man Chris Daly was in here earlier. Our man JT. Really appreciate everybody joining the conversation. We'll be
Definitely.
back.
Thank you, guys.
Click like, click subscribe. Like I said, help spread the word. We're getting closer and closer to the season. We'll be doing some more clips and putting some more shorts and stuff up. Now that we're getting, like I said, closer to the season. Got a little bit more going on in the NFL world. As always, don't forget to click like. Don't forget to click subscribe.
Yes.
And until next Wednesday, let's go Chiefs.
Let's go Chiefs.
Let's go Chiefs.
Let's go running backs.